Now, Donald Trump continues to struggle to defend his Muslim ban that has been shut down by the courts. Now, there was a recent rally in Melbourne, Florida on Saturday, and Trump, during this rally, Trump had cited a non-existent attack in Sweden. Let's take a look at that video, and then we'll break it down.
Here's the bottom line. We've got to keep our country safe. You look at what's happening. We've got to keep our country safe. You look at what's happening in Germany. You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden. They took in large numbers. They're having problems like they never thought possible.
Sweden. Sweden, would you believe it? No, I don't believe it. Because it didn't happen.
Jeff, if I say something louder, it
louder.
doesn't matter that I don't really have a point to my word salad. Because I'm saying it loud. That's his new strategy.
The hand motions really make it too.
I'm saying it louder.
They do. And, the whole time he's trying to point out, look at how big my hands are. They're not tiny. Look at these things.
They're average.
They're monster hands.
And I'm loud.
They're definitely not tiny. Definitely not. But look, let's get to the, actual stuff in here. The Sweden, what happened in Sweden? What did happen in Sweden? Well, as far as we know, absolutely nothing. In fact, even the former Swedish Prime Minister, a man named Carl Bildt, he tweeted out, Sweden, terror attack, what has he been smoking? Questions abound. Look, Ron, I don't know what he's been smoking, but I'm pretty sure Jeff Sessions has already attempted to ban it. Just saying.
Nice. Good one,
Not
buddy.
bad. Not bad, huh? I get my cues from comedians.
Yeah.
But anyway. So, look, no terrorist attacks in Sweden, right? Unless you're talking about the ones that happened in alternative fact land. Like, for example, you remember the Bowling Green Massacre? Horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible.
I made it out.
Barely. You just barely made it out of the Bowling Green Massacre.
Barely.
And then, remember the terrorist attack that happened in Atlanta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that coincided with the beginning of The Walking Dead. That's what happened there.
Probably. They
It was a
filmed it in
bioterrorism
Georgia.
attack. That's what it was.
It's awesome you bring that up. I actually watched I watched The Walking Dead for the first time last night. Ever.
Did you? Wow. You're a little late for the party.
my girlfriend's into it, and I've never watched it before, but she was like, well, I'm going to watch it because it's happening, and I don't miss it. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And I had like some writing stuff to do for the show tonight, so I kind of like half watched it with her, and I was kind of writing while she was watching. And
Sure.
I had a lot of questions because I've never seen it before. But it does, in fact, film in Georgia.
Yeah. Atlanta was a big set piece. So, anyway. So what happened in Bowling Green, Sweden, and Atlanta? Well, why don't we call those alternative terrorist attacks, or otherwise just fake news? Because that's what
Yeah. I actually like alternative terrorist attacks because the alternative to a terrorist attack is
a
not a
terrorist
terrorist attack, which is like what happened in this case.
Exactly.
Every day I've been a victim of alternative terrorist attacks. Quite frankly,
that's great.
I've never, knock on wood, I've never encountered one.
So
Firsthand.
anyway, now speaking of fake news, right? On Sunday, Donald Trump tweeted out his clarification to those remarks, what he was referring to. Now, he said, the report in question, this is a tweet. My statement as to what's happening in Sweden was in reference to a story that was broadcast on Fox News concerning immigrants and Sweden. Okay, so we have a little bit of clarification now. Now, that report took place on Tucker Carlson's show. I don't know the name of Tucker Carlson's show, but he's got a show. Now, on
Sad
this
man
show,
with a bow tie.
Sure. That bow tie, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not a fashion guy, but dude, really? Bow tie?
Well, I think, yeah, he's distanced himself from it a little bit every now and again, ever since like
Sure.
Jon Stewart like mopped the floor with him in '04. But yeah, he's still unapologetically sports it. He's like, you can't stop me from being me.
Right. You special snowflake, you.
Yeah. I mean, this is coming from a guy that's doing a broadcast in a Bad Religion T-shirt, so I probably shouldn't be throwing stuff from my glass house. But what are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, now during that Tucker Carlson segment, he interviewed somebody named and I don't know, Ami or Amy Horowitz. Now, this person had created a film that attempted to pin rising rates of crime on in Sweden on immigrants, on because Sweden has actually taken in probably the most amount of immigrants, not necessarily sure on the most, but a great deal of immigrants, more than a lot of other countries, more than the United States, for example. So they've taken in a lot of immigrants. Now, of course, this entire film is trying to say, look at this sharp increase in crime in Sweden. It's all thanks to the immigrants. Now, there's a couple of problems with that. Number one, crime is actually down in Sweden. Reuters reports that crime rates in Sweden have decreased since 2005, even as hundreds of thousands of immigrants have entered the country. And to that I say,
Oops.
not a thing. That's a bit of a problem. Now, also on this film that tries to smear immigrants, essentially, there were two Swedish police officers that recently came out and criticized the film that they were interviewed in. This was the film. Amy Horowitz, right, interviewed some police officers. They were talking about crime. Now, these two officers named Anders Goranzon and Jacob Ekstrom told a Swedish newspaper, and I cannot pronounce the name of the Swedish newspaper, or I would tell you, that their comments were selectively edited by the filmmaker in order to connect the impacts of immigrants on crime rates in Sweden. Goranzon told the newspaper it was supposed to be about crime in high-risk areas with high crime rates. There wasn't any focus on migration or immigration. And he finally says, quote, "This is bad journalism." And you know where bad journalism goes? It goes
To
straight
the
to
corporate
Fox
media.
News. Well, in corporate media, true. But a great example is going to Fox News. And now, since it goes to Fox News, it ends up going right to the ear of President Trump. Fun, huh? So this is what we have. I mean, we have a president who sits there and watches TV and then makes policy based on what he sees on TV. And the TV that he watches is the original fake news.
Yeah, I mean, well, not only that, but he's fishing for anything at this point because all he has left to kind of connect with people is their fear. Like that's pretty much all he's got left. Which it's amazing, and we should point this out. It's amazing he's already gotten to that point in his presidency. It's been a month, Jeff. It's been a month. I mean, maybe a little over at this point, but it's been approximately a month. And it took Bush years to get to that point. And he had, of course, he had 9/11 happen too. That helped get to that point. But the Trump administration, they're at this point now. So they're going to parrot anything, fake or not. And Donald Trump has no clue. And he'll just deflect. He'll be like, well, this was just what was given to me. Whether he's lying about a terrorist attack or lying about how many electoral votes he got.
Yep.
It was given to him. It was given to him.
Hey, not my fault. Don't kill the messenger. No. I'm only the president of the United States, and I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about. But I didn't get this. I get this information from Fox News. Blame them.
This was just given to me. I don't know. It was a significant win, though, don't you think? I mean, that whole press conference was a tiny, small man fishing for validation.
Basically.
And that's what every press conference is going to be. It's a tiny, tiny man fishing for validation. That's all he did the entire time.
Yeah. And
going on diatribes, of course, like word salad diatribes, but
people who need constant validation and praise, I mean, there's something wrong. Their feelings of I don't know. I'm not gonna diagnose somebody over the air. That's ridiculous. I've made fun of Fox News
we can.
For doing
well,
the same
that
thing.
I mean,
so I'm not gonna do that. But I'm just saying, like, if you feel super inadequate, usually you try to fish for compliments from somebody.
How
And that's
many
just from knowing
psychology
people who do
PhD
that.
students are going to write a dissertation on this guy?
Who knows, right?
I mean, that's a lot is the answer. I'm curious to see that come out in the next couple years.
But again, I don't want to get too much into that because that's speculation and trying to do psychoanalysis. I don't do that. I'm not going to do that.
I don't
But-
either.
But what's interesting, to go to an actual point, there was an actual terrorist attack in Sweden. It happened last month. Well, how come you and I never heard anything about it, Ron? Well, let me tell you. Now, The Independent reports that 3 suspected neo-Nazis were arrested in January after a Gothenburg asylum center became the target of a homemade bomb attack, leaving one person seriously injured. Thankfully, no fatalities, but still, this was a bombing. This was a terrorist attack. Now, the Gothenburg Center happened to be a place for immigrants. There were also 2 other attacks going back before January, the few months spanning before January, on immigrant centers carried out by suspected Swedish white supremacists. Again, oops. Seems like there's more of an issue with some of the natives in Sweden attacking immigrants, and not the other way around. And again, violent crime in Sweden has decreased despite Sweden taking in a ton of immigrants and refugees. Now, of course, you can go through and point out some and cherry pick out some. Well, look at this violent attack by an immigrant on a Swedish person. Yeah, okay. But again, the people that attack the immigrants in Sweden don't represent all Swedes. The immigrants or migrants that might have attacked a Swedish person doesn't necessarily represent all immigrants. So that's an important point to point out. But to the overall point of the story, I wonder why Trump ignored that story. I wonder why Fox News ignored that story. I wonder why it didn't get any traction in any of the major corporate media outlets. Maybe it could be that terrorism by white people isn't as sexy to cover as terrorism performed by brown people. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And bringing it back to Trump and co. I mean, they were pretty silent on the Montreal incident too, because I mean that guy was a supporter, and all of a sudden it's just the rules are different when it's white people doing it. The rules are different when it's not motivated by Muslim extremism. The rules are definitely different then. They say, well, why won't we call it radical Islam? Why won't we call it this? Like, okay, well then Dylan Roof's a Christian terrorist.
Right.
Why won't we call it that? I mean, there is a very thick double standard.
Right, and Roof represents Christianity just as much as ISIS represents Islam.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
no,
so-
I fully agree with that. But
That's
if you're
something that-
if you're gonna make sure
Yeah.
we designate one, then designate them all.
We can't sit here and do false equivalence. And that's something that pisses me off to no end. And this is what, unfortunately, you've got a lot of corporate media, or some of the corporate media, Fox News definitely, Donald Trump doing, and a lot of it's to, look, terrorism is terrorism, right? We only
Right.
seem to focus on the brown kind because it happens to fit into some people's agenda. Donald Trump's agenda, Steve Bannon's agenda, right? The far right. And it's there to keep you afraid of the Muslims so that you'll keep these far right-wingers in power. And end up going, and this is the more important part of this, is that it keeps money flowing into the military-industrial complex that continues to make lots and lots of money off bombing Middle Eastern countries. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.